Call to order the Marshall City Council regular meeting for March 16th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Here.
Member Cheney Huggett. Member Gates. Member Hackworth.
Here.
Member Skibby. Member Traver.
Here.
And Member Underhill.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Seek a motion to excuse Member Skibby from this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would ask council to rise for the invocation from Chris Turkowitz and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you like, would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we pause for this moment to be still, give thanks for this day and the opportunity we have to live and serve this community. We acknowledge the work that's before us. God, we thank you that your word tells us if we lack wisdom, we should ask. And so today we ask that ears would be open to listen and understand, eyes to be open to see what is before us, minds to be attentive, words to be spoken with care, respect, and wisdom. We ask that you would guide the work of this council and all the citizens of this community. May your blessing rest upon them. May the decisions here made tonight be for the well-being, peace, and flourishing of this community. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. That brings us to the approval of the agenda. Item 6, we have public comment on agenda items. Item 7 is our consent agenda. Item 8 is we do not have any presentations or recognitions. Item 9, we have no informational items. Item 10, we do have 10A, a public hearing for Resolution 2026-8, Ketchum Park Improvements, MDNR Trust Fund Grant. Item 11, old business, we do not have any. Item 12, we have 12A, Resolution 2026-5 for State High Water Infrastructure Grant. 12B is Resolution 2026-7 for Property Transfer of Opportunity Drive right-of-way. 12C is grant request for South Kalamazoo/Hughes intersection improvements. 12D is set public hearing ordinance 2026-01, amendment to 132.01 threats, assault, and battery. 12E is set a public hearing for ordinance 2026-02, amendment to 131.02, harassing communications. 12F is set public hearing ordinance 2026-03, amendment to 134.04, disorderly conduct. 12G is set public hearing ordinance 2026-04, amendment to 134.03, disorderly house. We have no appointments or elections. Item 14 is public comment on non-agenda items. Item 15 is council and manager communications. It's followed by item 16, adjournment. I seek a motion regarding the agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda as is, as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to public comment on agenda items. Persons addressing City Council are required to give their name and address for the record when called upon by the mayor. Members of the public shall be limited to speaking for a maximum of 3 minutes. Comments shall address agenda item topics only. Public hearing items should be addressed during the public hearing portion, item 10 of the meeting agenda. Non-agenda items shall be addressed during the public comment non-agenda items, item 14 portion of the meeting agenda. Is there anyone wishing to address council this evening on agenda item topics? Yes, sir.
Barry Wayne Adams, 622 West Green Street. I'm addressing the alteration or modification of the language of those specified ordinances. And this comes down to what was taught by one of the great teachers of humanity, who is erroneously called Jesus Christ, as, Yahshua ben Yusuf. But he tried to teach about the pointlessness of hyper-legalism, of thinking that you can create statutory or ordinance language that can have sufficient precision so it is always appropriately applicable in every case. And you just can't do that. And the need to modify ordinance language is kind of an admission that, well, we didn't get it right the first time. So how do we know that we're getting it right this time? As what was referred to down in the workshop, at some point, you have to move into definitions that are necessarily ambiguous and have vagueness as part of its operation. And what they were talking about down in the workshop about the reasonableness standard. Now, how do you quantify reasonableness? It just can't be done because reasonableness is in the eye of the reasoning mind. And as we've already heard, even though there are ordinances and other statutory instrumentalities in effect, it comes down to the discretion of the enforcer as to how that
I'm sorry,
ordinance.
Mr. Adams, can I please keep the conversation in the audience down, please? Thank you.
What did you say?
I was asking the audience to stay quiet while you
Oh.
were speaking.
Oh. We didn't have our decibel level measure up. But, so, are you going to get it right this time? Is the, language on assault and battery going to be perfect so that we will create the perfect order in society? Laws don't stop crime.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else wishing? Yes, ma'am.
Lynn Slight, 507 Fair Street. First, I wanted to apologize for speaking while Barry was speaking. The thing we were talking about was we were trying to figure out what was on the agenda. Usually I take time and I look on the computer and I can quite often just type up my, print up my own. But there were no agendas in the hallway except for one. So we were just looking at it and I think it was probably just an oops that there was no agenda in the hallway. Or I don't know where they went. Anyway, that's what we were talking about back there and just trying to figure out what's on the agenda.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council on agenda topics? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. 7A is city council minutes from our work session March 2nd, 2026, and our regular session March 2nd, 2026. 7B is city bills. Purchases from February 27th, 2026, in the amount of $235,618.66. Purchases from March 4th, 2026 of $35,487.26 for a total of $271,105.92. 7C is our dangerous building, request to file litigation. 7D is master service agreement with Power System Engineering, and 7E is special event request for the garden tour. Seek a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion and support, so roll call vote, please.
Member Gates. Yes. Member Hackworth.
Yes.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett. Yes. Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. That moves us down to 10A, which is our public hearing and subsequent council action for Resolution 2026-8, Ketchum Park Improvements, MDNR Trust Fund Grant. And Director Strange will introduce this to us.
Good evening. I introduced this project a little bit last month, but I have brought a guest with us here. John McCann from Tower Pinkster helped us kind of reach the point where we're at with the drawings currently. We are seeking a trust fund grant to replace the bathrooms, pavilion, and playground equipment on the north side of Ketchum Park. And I'm not certain if you guys have all been out there lately, but I think that pavilion would about fall over pretty soon if we pushed on it a little bit too hard. And so we are, we kind of put this together in an attempt to work all that stuff back together. So I'm gonna let, if you want to, is this okay to have him talk now? Or do you want to wait? I thought it would be nice to introduce the project a little bit. Maybe we could stave off some questions.
Sure, we can do that.
And then we could follow up with any questions after the public hearing. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to kind of introduce the project a little bit, John? Sure.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John McCann. I'm with Tower Pinkster. I'm a landscape architect, and I've been helping Marcia with the planning for Ketchum Park. There's an exhibit here. I understand you might have some smaller examples in front of you. But essentially, as Marcia mentioned, the existing restroom building and the existing pavilion are quite mature, have lived a great life, and it's time to replace them. And then also the playground equipment is not up to code and not accessible. So we're proposing that we remove all of those things and replace them with a new pavilion slash restroom slash kitchen. It's about 1,300 square feet total. It's got 2 unisex restrooms on either side, a kitchen space, and then an open air pavilion space that can fit about 6 to 7 picnic tables, about 6 to 8 people per picnic table. So it provides restrooms, provides kitchen space, and then a covered area to sit, good rentable space. And then we have also a couple of grills, one grill, and then a couple of waste receptacles, recycling bins to go along with that, and a bike loop. And then we've looked at playground space, and we've located it kind of in where the 2 pathways meet. It's about, I think, a 2,000 square foot playground space, which is pretty comparable to what's there now. And we're proposing a rubberized surface material, so it's universally accessible. So typically, the DNR likes to see efforts to make the site more universally accessible as much as you possibly can. So that's why we chose that surface. We've added concrete pathways to all facilities so that everything's accessible. And then we've shown in the parking lot some handicapped spots that are marked out with signage and pavement marking, so it's obvious where the barrier-free parking is. And then there'd be a direct path from that to all of the activities on the site.
Okay,
That's a general overview.
all right. Thank you both. We'll open the public hearing and get back with you. With that, I will open the public hearing on Resolution 2026-8 for Ketchum Park Improvements, MDNR Trust Fund Grant. Anyone wishing to address council on this topic this evening? Yes, sir.
Barry Wayne Adams again. Is this going to fix the park? Or is this just the new target of vandalization? As I've been around here for more than 3 decades, it's been a cyclic thing. Try to put in some facilities to the park. Over time, for whatever reasons, the facilities just get busted up. A lot of unvented anger from the youth. Maybe that's where the problem should be addressed in not having a frustrated and angry youth that wants to go down to the park and kick in the toilets. So is this just going to be the new target for coming down and busting up facilities again? Are you just putting a Band-Aid on a cancer tumor? There's an underlying dynamic that is what really needs to be addressed, and by doing these rehashing of these facilities, all you're doing is just putting a patchwork on a much deeper problem. You know, people should be respecting that area. It's a beautiful area there. And somehow we have people in this community who are unable to appreciate and respect that, which is truly unfortunate. Those deeper problems are probably the things that should be addressed, and they are not addressable by passing of an ordinance or appropriating more money towards another construction project. It'd be nice if the thing was built and it would last, but given the history of what's been going on there, I don't have much hope for this new architectural design to last long. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else wishing to address council on this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, comments, or discussion from council? Yes.
Question about the thought behind and what actually is included in the kitchen for the building?
So, yes, so that is, you know, kind of an addition, right? We don't have anything like that in town. And through, you know, contacts that have been made with us about rental, you know, rental requests, it was something that has been asked about. And, you know, I know that some of us have rented facilities like that in other communities, where, you know, they had, so the, what we've kind of shaped this after is, you know, the ball field currently has just like a, not even, it's not really a serving kitchen, it's kind of like a warming kitchen back there. So they've got, you know, a refrigerator, a stove, microwave, and then counter space, and with a lot of, you know, outlets that you can have like a potluck in there, right? So we thought that it would be a worthwhile amenity for our community. You could rent that space, you know, similar to how you would rent the Cronin Pavilion. The pavilion itself, the open portion, would be open all the time, but you would have access to the kitchen through a rental opportunity.
Do you have a breakout of the cost for just the kitchen component of that building? Under the larger $350,000 cost, I'm just curious what the investment would be in that, if it's necessary.
Right, we probably,
Most of the cost is in the restroom portion. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, a large part of the cost is really in the restroom facility with the masonry walls and all the plumbing and utilities. The kitchen space is basically air and walls, so it's not a huge.
there would be a sink, there would be a two-compartment sink
Would have a
for,
sink and some electric.
yeah. But the utility intense space is really the bathrooms. So it would be the extra cost of like, you know, the sidewalls. And what did we end up doing? It was like 10 feet.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're still bringing in your own stuff. You're not having appliances and stoves and,
So we would put in a stove there,
Okay.
like for you know, warming purposes, you could bring stuff. Microwave and a refrigerator. And those would but they would be under lock and key
Yeah,
unless you are renting it.
okay, thank you.
Does that kitchen fall under Calhoun County Department of Health as far as,
So there would be, because we are not serving, like, if you can rent a space and have a potluck and it doesn't have any health department, like, you're not you're not selling the food, as long as you're not selling the food and serving, people outside of your group, right? Then that's not a health department issue. And we don't have to incorporate that all into our, lease agreement, right?
Will the playground itself be wheelchair accessible?
Yes,
So like actually roll on and everything like that?
yes.
That's awesome. It's the first one in town. My wife and I were just speaking about this the other day, and I'm happy to see that. Thank you.
With that type of wheelchair accessible or disability accessible type of equipment too? Or is it just you roll on and you watch the other kids?
So
play.
you would have, the structure would have a transfer station. So someone in a wheelchair or motorized chair could get onto the structure through that transfer station. So there would be accessible qualities to the whole thing wouldn't be accessible, but parts of it would be.
Okay. And then my other question was, is this, the kitchen, going back to the kitchen, is this something that people have asked for versus having the just accessibility to like the old grills where you have cookout on the, I don't know, just, I'm wondering about the cost versus the amount that we're spending, you know, the amount we're spending versus requests versus having something in grill-wise, and then maybe a few years from now, if we had money, adding the refrigerator and the stove and that, having the access to the electric, oh heck yeah, that's really important, but I'm not sure about the full kitchen.
Well, and that's, that's something that we wouldn't have to put the appliances in there if that's, something that you didn't want, but the rental, we thought that the rental capability was, was a big benefit. Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's kind of up for you guys to,
And honestly, you're already running water there. The bathrooms are already there. The sink itself is not going to be the huge cost factor of this entire project. It's really just a additional benefit of that space, in my eyes at least.
Utilities.
Yeah, if he didn't do it, he would basically just be shortening the walls, which isn't a huge cost.
I will say as a family who used to do quite a few family reunions, large ones at the park in Albion, it was interesting trying to find enough plugins to run crock pots, to do all the things that we needed to do. Having a space like this, I think if we could advertise that well, I think we could make money off that. Have we looked at what we're going to charge for rentals and things like that yet? Have we gotten that far? Okay.
no, honestly, this was really trying to shape the project in a way that we could go after the grant funding. Trying to make that, cover all of our bases that we would be interested in doing out there, right? We're not, we may not get the grant, right? But we can come back and do the full kind of planning process after we decide, or after we discover that we have the grant. So if there is something that we're like, yeah, that's not really, something that we are really interested in, or if we could dig further into the cost that it really would take us to run that, or rental requirements for that.
Well, yeah, and I guess I think about cleaning as well. We'd have to have staff members clean it in between. But I was going to ask about the play equipment. First of all, I like the design. I like how it's a circle, kids can scooter in a circle, bike in a circle. I think that's great. I think that'll be appreciated and well utilized. So I'm wondering about the play equipment because of course you can put in brand new play equipment and spend a lot of money on it and then get actual kids in there and they look at it and go, it's not that cool, So we wanted to make sure it's, that the kids are going to love it. So I'm just wondering what that process is, if there's a committee who chooses the actual equipment.
So yes.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have to necessarily select it for the grant application. We just kind of have a budget set aside. But generally what we do is we'll bring in precedent imagery of different types of play features or play experiences. And it can be with you guys, it can be with a committee. It's however you really want to do it.
I would expect that the Ketchum Park Advisory Committee would be kind of fully engaged on this. I reached out to a few of the kind of core members as we were trying to put this together fairly quickly. And I anticipate, and I've circulated what we've kind of come up with to a bunch of kind of community members. I do anticipate that we will have kind of a series of letters of recommendation or letters of support to include with our grant application, which is very helpful from everyone from Rotary to members of the Ketchum Park Advisory Committee, even the police, we kind of put that front. I did want to address, there was a question about kind of monitoring of the site. And we did kind of take that into consideration in the orientation of the facility. So you're not blocking the picnic area. The police usually kind of come into the site and turn around in the parking lot. And so they kind of,
All the
looked at
doors are
that.
viewable and all the
Yeah, so the doors,
pavilion
yeah.
space is viewable from the parking lot.
So there was one. Yeah, I mean, we would have, lights on the building and the camera. So the other thing is we have that camera, police department's working on the camera project for the space out here. We currently have a camera, kind of on the northeast corner of the skate park that has been monitoring the skate park area. And I would expect that we would extend, camera system to probably, we'd have the opportunity on that building to extend camera there. So it does provide some opportunities.
Well, I do think, I do get both your points. I would say having the space for the kitchen, even if all we had in there was, stainless steel tables and electric outlets for people to be able to utilize, if we didn't go with actual appliances, but having the space, I think is, so we have options, I think is wise, so, yeah. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Again, all we're doing tonight is authorizing Marcia to apply for the grant. This comes to us in this format because it is a matching grant, so if they do come back with a $400,000 grant, we are committing ourselves to our half of that.
One more question, 1.5. Is the pavilion covered and how many does it hold?
So right now we have 6 picnic tables that would fit under there, and we figure about 6 to 8 people per table. So just under 50.
It is covered?
It is
Just
covered,
open
yes.
air?
Yep, it is covered, yep.
Seeing no further conversation, I will seek a motion regarding 10A.
I move that we approve Resolution 2026-08, a resolution of support for the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application for new pavilion, bathrooms, and playground, and authorize the city manager and city clerk to sign the necessary documents.
I have a motion of support. And again, because this involves committing ourselves to funding, this is a roll call vote.
Member Hackman. Yes. Member Traver. Yes. Member Underhill.
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett.
Yes.
And Member Gates.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. That brings us to item 12A, Resolution 2026-5, State High Water Infrastructure Grant, and Director Davenport.
Good evening. I have a grant application request in front of you for the State of Michigan, Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Water Resources Division has issued a special request for proposals under the State High Water Infrastructure Grant Program. This is a program that has some remaining dollars to issue, and so they sent out a request for any remaining projects that may qualify. We are looking to get an assessment of Sherman Pond complete under this grant request. Sherman Pond's in the northwest quadrant of the city, bounded by Verona, Sherman, Linden, Wright Lanes, and functions as a stormwater storage and basin prior to being discharged eventually to the Kalamazoo River for that adjacent neighborhood. In our current master plan and for some time, properties adjacent to that area, to the west and northwest, have been identified as future development for residential. And the initial plans of those properties indicate or assume that there would be a connection to the stormwater system, and that would put an impact on Sherman Pond. In an effort to better understand the capacity and capabilities of Sherman Pond, we're asking for this grant. We're writing this grant to do an assessment. Also, we have fielded concerns from adjacent residents of the pond over the last several years throughout the seasons of high water remarks. Nothing significant property damage. One time we had a beaver occupying the outlet, so that was a relatively simple solution, but we have heard that, right? More like, it's never been this high before, or I don't remember it being this high, those kind of things. So we are our estimate for the study is $50,000, and the grant requires $20,000 in matching funds. We don't have any budget impact for submitting the grant, and if it is awarded, we would issue a budget amendment to cover our matching funds. Included is a resolution for your approval indicating your support for the project and a summary of why we're asking for it. I'm happy to take questions.
I would just comment that this is my ward, so I've heard from residents in that area concerned about those water levels creeping up. And I believe it potentially impacts, we have kind of a storm sewer issue on the corner of Wright Lane there. And so that potentially that all connects as well. So I just want to say thank you for seeing this opportunity, and hopefully, this will be an opportunity for us to address those issues. It'll help us in the long term for that area. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? I'll second Jacob's comments that, I'm sure this pond was established as an infiltration point for this neighborhood probably coming up on 50 years ago, so probably time to do something maintenance with it. So thank you so much for identifying this opportunity to extend the tax dollars of Marshall and make them even more effective. So if there's no further discussion, I will seek a motion regarding 12A.
I move that we approve Resolution 2026-05, a resolution to support the Sherman Pond Study Grant application and authorize the city manager and city clerk to sign the necessary documents.
Support.
A motion supports. Roll call vote, please.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Member Cheney-Huggett. Yes. Member Gates.
Yes.
And Member Hackworth. Yes. Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. That brings us to item 12B, Resolution 2026-7, Property Transfer of Opportunity Drive right-of-way, and Director Davenport's back with us.
So Opportunity Drive is located out at the major campus. It's aligned along the previous C Drive North alignment, which was a county road, and it connects Michigan Avenue, which is M96, to the Ford Blue Oval property, specifically what we call the Ring Road, around the Ford facility. The property is approximately 5 acres in size, and there's a transfer agreement that indicates the stipulations under which it's being transferred. So clarifications on the state of construction. There are some punch list items that need to be completed before we will accept it and execute the transfer, along with some other general legalese related to transfer agreements. We do have recently constructed infrastructure in this right-of-way, but this transfer agreement is for the property and the road surface only. The infrastructure within the right-of-way is not being transferred at this time. It would be transferred at a later date with the remainder of the infrastructure that connects to it. In addition to accepting the property transfer, we're recommending a dedication of the property as a public right-of-way. And Resolution 2026-07 is the resolution required to dedicate a public right-of-way and certify the section of road, Opportunity Drive, as open and available to the public. When we record the quitclaim deed, including the transfer agreement, and with this resolution, it will immediately become a public right-of-way. And we're expecting this to happen in the near future, next month or so. Once dedicated, Opportunity Drive will be a part of our city street system. And when we do our street certification next year, we will add it to our MDOT Public Act 51 funding matrix. So I had a recommendation in the report. I want to read you a new one because I had to add a brief snippet of things. And so I'll do that now, and then you can ask questions. So the recommendation is to approve the purchase of Opportunity Drive right-of-way parcel, approximately 5 acres, in the amount of $1 from the Marshall Area Economic Development Alliance, upon the completion of the appropriate splits and combinations of the adjacent parcels, and approve Resolution 2026-07, a resolution to designate Opportunity Drive as a public street, and authorize the city manager and city clerk to sign the necessary documents.
So moved.
Nice try. If we're going to start letting city staff make the actual motions, that's, we might need that in writing.
I said it out loud so Michelle can get it on the recording. That's why I read it. Included in your packet is just a general graphic of where this is, if you're unsure, and all the associated documents, including surveys, resolution, and more surveys.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or discussion?
Could you repeat the upon the completion list again, please? In your proposed resolution?
Yes. Upon completion of the appropriate splits and combinations of the adjacent parcels.
So, I think this one's pretty straightforward. We've been expecting this for a while now. As far as one request I do have, one of the ongoing complaints we're seeing out in that area is lighting. So now that this is going to be a city street, I am asking that we take this opportunity to assess, where some street lights might be helpful.
And signage.
I think signage still gets into MDOT, but just the lights, it's ours. Yeah. So, unless there's further discussion or questions, I would seek a motion.
I move that we approve the purchase of Opportunity Drive right-of-way parcel approximately 5 acres in the amount of $1 from Marshall Area Economic Development Alliance upon the completion of the appropriate splits and combinations of the adjacent parcels and approve resolution 2026-07, a resolution to dedicate Opportunity Drive as a public street and authorize city manager and city clerk to sign the necessary documents.
Support.
Motion support, and because this involves spending money, it is a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Mayor Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Member Cheney Huggett.
Yes.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Member Hacker.
Yes.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. That brings us to 12C, grant request for South Kalamazoo/Hughes intersection improvements. And Director Davenport, one more time.
Yes, it's grant season. It must be. So, a little bit different this time. This is a congressionally directed spending request to be submitted to Senator Slotkin and Senator Peters. We are looking for funding for the intersection of South Kalamazoo Avenue and Hughes Street to improve, to design and construct improvements to that intersection as we have fielded several concerns with the intersection previously. We've done some preliminary analysis with the school traffic, the existing north-south industrial traffic, and anticipated development traffic, both from the west and from the south. And it's also one of our action items this year to get a plan established and start figuring out funding. So this would really rip the Band-Aid off and get us going. So we're looking for approval to submit a request for congressionally directed spending. The total cost of the project is estimated at $2.1 million. And we're looking for approval in fiscal year 2027. And as I mentioned before, our preliminary traffic study from 2024 gives us the information we need to submit this grant or this request. And we will be reaching out to local stakeholders to also get letters of support.
Do we need, because it is an MDOT controlled intersection, do we need a letter of support from them?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so we would do MDOT, the county road department, public safety, and Marshall Public Schools. MEDA is the last one. So we can submit 5 letters, and I'm trying to get public safety to joint author their letter for both fire and police so that I can get another entity in there.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
You mentioned property acquisition. So what's the vision? Is it widening the road along there, or what's the?
The vision is a roundabout.
Okay. The other question is, there's a 20% local match, but you mentioned it's the 3 jurisdictions joining there. Do we anticipate that MDOT and the county would pick up a third of that 20%, or a third each, or how do we envision that working?
I think it's doubtful. I think we're being proactive because we want to drive the design and drive improvements that are made. If we wait and we don't find funding or find ways to have a seat at the table, the solution will not be what is best for Marshall long-term. And so it will fall into an MDOT very regimented, like intersection improvement process, and it's very difficult to get. It's very scientific, regimented, restricted. Any of those words may work, but it's just difficult to have flexibility to do something like a roundabout. So I think if we want it to happen, we need to find the money and make it happen.
I know the traffic study came to South NIA. Did that ever come to us too? It came to us too? Okay.
It's a great question.
Yeah,
I
just.
can't remember, but I
Or
can.
is it's available online, because it is pretty, you went through every single opportunity of what we could have there, keeping the same, putting a light there, and also the roundabout, and showing the difference of timing. I think it was on that.
I don't think it's online. It's a great suggestion, but I can, certainly we can share it.
Okay.
I'll look on the NIA website though. Yep.
Yeah, I know we've been approached several times with concerns, and I think that being proactive and driving the change versus having to accept what we've been given without much input from our friends at MDOT. I think this is important for our community and our safety and our people. So I'm excited to see this go through.
And they have tools and they have ways to get funding. So I mean, it's possible. I don't think we should count on it.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? I would seek a motion regarding 12C. Thank you, Marguerite.
I move that we approve the submission of a fiscal year 2027 congressionally directed spending request for the construction of the South Kalamazoo Ave and West Hughes Street intersection, and authorize the city manager and city clerk to sign the necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and support. It's a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to 12D, set a public hearing for ordinance 2026-01, amendment to 132.01, threats, assault and battery, and Chief Lanker.
Mr. Mayor and Council, here to talk about some ordinances tonight. So first off, on a regular basis, Marshall Police Department kind of reviews our city ordinances as part of our operational practices. We meet monthly with our city prosecutor, John Sullivan, where we review kind of our court cases, we review our operations, anything that comes up in those situations, right? Like John gives us feedback on what things need to be tweaked. We give him operational kind of discussions, and we have discussions about that, about what needs to be updated. Those ordinances and concerns and issues. Based on these discussions, we kind of prioritize those and figure out where do we put them in our operational plans, right? So we just try to prioritize those and where do we need to put those. The things about laws and ordinances is laws change regularly. Those legal opinions change regularly. So we have to stay on top of those things in order to make sure that we're, doing the right thing. First of all, that our ordinance is updated and that, limit that liability of what we're doing, that we're doing the right thing. So with that being said, last year we looked at our ordinance, our assault ordinance, and it was very, looking at, if you saw the example of it, if you look at it now, it's very short and vague. It's a little bit dated. It was, I think the last data it was updated was 1983. So it was in need of a little bit of a review and update. Really, when you look at it, we had, it was a combination, it's like one sentence, the ordinance is, and it's a combination of threats and assault and battery, where the state statute goes over what assault and battery, it covers assault and battery as a 93 misdemeanor, and we've adopted that in another section of our ordinance to adopt all 93-day misdemeanors. But it does not include the threats. So long story short, looking at it, we're like, we need to separate those two things out. So that's what we did in this drafted ordinance. We separated out the assault and battery from the threats. And so one's a 93-day misdemeanor, which meets this state statute, and the other one's a 90-day misdemeanor. And for the understanding of that, a 93-day misdemeanor, we can, law enforcement is allowed to make an arrest on a 93-day misdemeanor with probable cause. So we have probable cause, we can make an arrest. A 90-day misdemeanor, it has to occur in your presence, if that makes sense, to make an in-custody arrest. Otherwise, we'd have to go complaint warrant and get a warrant for that, for the person or the suspect in those cases. So, after reviewing those, like I said, we looked at different ordinances, looked at the state statute, and we put that in the language of the draft for ordinance. And the draft was included in the packet for council to review. The proposed ordinance, like I said, matches the 93-day language, matches the state statute, and then the threats kind of addresses what we've been seeing in the community and allows us to take enforcement in that matter as a 90-day misdemeanor. So these amendments will bring the ordinance more in line with the state statute and provides a clearer context that threats may include both verbal statements and actions. So, there's obviously no budget impact, but just looking to move forward with this ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions, comments, or discussion?
Just a point of clarification, so not to steal your thunder, but I think we're going to talk about other means of communication later, but for the purposes of this ordinance, so when it says threaten another person by words, does that mean only verbally, or is that also in writing or electronic communications for the purposes of this ordinance?
Yeah, for the purpose of this ordinance, it's by words, could be written as well, but that might be covered in the harassing communications, which we'll be talking about later on, but they're similar. They both have means. I think it matters what, some things can be threatening as far as harassing, and some things can be threatening where I think that's immediate. A threat is more of like you believe that this is going to happen because there's means and the time frame is immediate, right? So that's going to happen. So hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? No, I will, just to reiterate your point, I mean, laws change. We have court cases that happen that change what is deemed enforceable. We have federal laws that get updated. We have state laws that get updated, that can influence, the applicability of our ordinances. So I appreciate that these are being reviewed. And that you're coming to us, to maintain the enforceability and reasonableness of our local ordinances. I think it's important to not just let something sit and become useless. So, with that, I would seek a motion regarding 12D. We are just setting the public hearing.
I move that we introduce ordinance 2026-1, an amendment to 132.01, threats, assault, and battery, publish a summary in the local newspaper and set public hearing for April 20th, 2026.
Support.
A motion and support, so voice vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to item 12E, set public hearing for ordinance 2026-02, amendment to 131.02, harassing communications.
Okay. Another ordinance that we reviewed and came up last year, specifically we had a case and just noticed that the state language included some venue language, so we wanted to add that to our harassing communications. So specifically, when we compared it to other ordinances and looking at the state statute, the language adds to include telecommunications devices for one thing, such as cell phones and computers, as well as electronic communications. It also includes that language of the origination and the termination language. So it would include where it's being said, as long as the victim either resides here or the suspect is, residing here. So it's the termination or the origin of where those communications are happening, which was similar to what's in the state statute. So we wanted to add that to the language. Just going back, this ordinance was last updated in 2010. Before, I think, a lot of these texting, we didn't see a lot of those types of cases before then. So kind of updating that harassing communications to include those mediums was something that needed to be done. So these amendments will help ensure the ordinance reflects current communication technology and will better address the needs of the community for enforcement.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, comments, or discussion on ordinance 2026-02.
One question, does this obviously, or maybe not obviously, does this use of computer, cell phone, electronic communications also cover these communications that are written in a social media platform or besides something that's sent directly to me by email or
So with harassing communications, it has to be something that's directly to you.
Directly, okay.
But it would be through that format, if that makes sense.
just wondering?
Yep.
Yeah, if somebody, like a direct message, it would, or.
Yeah.
or even a-
I mean, you can also, I mean, those things like, when we look at the law, it's got to be something that's direct. There's you know, the First Amendment right to free speech, that's there, right? So you have, when these, yeah. So that's why we have these, it's got to be something that's directly to the person, so, yeah.
So in Section A of 132.02, you added cell phone, computer, electronic. Section B, a lot of the examples, it only speaks to by telephone, of a telephone conversation after a telephone call is answered. So do those type of examples not apply to the computer then? It has to be telephone?
You're talking about the second section here, where the carrier intended to terrorize.
Correct.
Number one says,
Yeah, like the listing,
in the course of a telephone conversation, and then
Right.
one below says telephone or telegraph message.
So I don't,
so 1 through 6 is omitting computers, it's just
Right.
referring to telephone, and I'm,
Yeah, if you look down at C, it says, this is between telephone and other equipment provided for the transmission of messages. Let me look.
I don't know as though, I mean, when it comes to these, to ordinances, I don't think 12B is necessarily like an expansion on 12A. 12A is its own section of the ordinance.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's looking.
Yeah. So they're not dependent on each other.
Okay.
Yeah, because one's more of a harassment, the other one is addressing like threats.
Well, it even addresses like denial of service attempts, that kind of thing, so, yeah.
So I think I'm just looking at it now from a different perspective. I think we were looking at that as more of the aspect of threats. And then the first one is more of an aspect of communications to harass or cause harm. So I think we looked at both of them to cover both areas.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Again, we're just setting a public hearing for this. I would seek a motion regarding 12E.
I move that we introduce ordinance 2026-2, an amendment to 132-02, harassing communications, publish a summary in the local newspaper and set a public hearing for April 20th, 2026.
second.
I have a motion and a second, and this is a voice vote, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And 12F, set public hearing for ordinance 2026-03, amendment to 134.04, disorderly conduct. Chief?
Okay. Again, talking about another ordinance, in need of some updates. Last year, we looked at our disorderly conduct ordinance and discussing it at our monthly meetings. We did notice there was some language in there. First of all, it was last updated in like 2000, so obviously it's a little dated. It still included vagrancy and begging as public disturbances, which have been ruled First Amendment rights. So we wanted to clean up that language and get that out of there, of course, and then bring it up to current standards and what is acceptable. So after reviewing the comparable ordinances and relevant statutes, we drafted the proposed amendment to the ordinance. It includes an updated language regarding detoxification and refusal, which we did a little research looking at that as far as under the under the medical protective, taking somebody into protective custody under the medical statute. There's a section in there for detoxification and as far as disorderly conduct. So we kind of adopted that language into our disorderly. We've always had it, but we did a relook at it, obviously, right, to kind of update it and make sure that we were on the, doing the right thing and the verbiage was consistent with what the state statute is. So to include, we also looked at disorderly language to include prostitution, gambling, and illegal sale, use of intoxicating liquor or permitted or is being conducted. So the use, basically the use or sale of intoxicating liquor where it's not permitted or where it's illegal, right, would be disorderly if they were doing that, or if it was being conducted illegally, that would be a disorderly person. This language was kind of added to be consistent with disorderly house, which I'll talk about afterwards, but we found out some of the language, we could clean up both ordinances by kind of cleaning the language up. So instead of like having this big, long disorderly house, we can narrow that down to just say disorderly house includes somebody that's being disorderly, right? So, and then disorderly has this is what's defined as a disorderly person. So with those, you know, we believe that this was obviously going to make the ordinance more lawful and consistent with the current practices and what we're doing and with the state statute. So.
Can you, I guess I'm trying to understand the purpose of, if someone is being disorderly and that creates a disorderly house, what is the purpose of having the two statutes?
The two sections, you're talking about disorderly conduct?
And yeah, if we already have a disorderly conduct statute, then what is the purpose of
So
this? I
the
realize I'm
issue
getting
is,
ahead of it, but.
right, so, and try to explain it. So disorderly house is somebody that's basically condoning disorderly conduct in the house,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So you have disorderly house, you might not be able to identify the disorderly person. They're allowing that person to be there. So we can address, I mean, we've had this many times, different cases where we can't quite identify the person that's making the boisterous or being disorderly, but we can identify the place where it's occurring.
Person who puts the responsibility on the person who owns or lives there. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments, or discussion on 12F? Seeing none, and again, we are just setting a public hearing. I would seek a motion regarding 12F.
I move that we introduce ordinance 2026-3, an amendment to 132.02, harassing oops, am I reading the wrong one? Is that the wrong one? Is that the?
The right ordinance number, but the wrong amendment to, it looked like that one got copied.
Okay.
Mistake.
Do we have the correct? Sorry.
Set a public hearing for that.
An amendment to is it 134.02? Is that correct?
134.04.
0.04, excuse me, not harassing communications. This one is, pardon me, disorderly conduct, and publish a summary in the local newspaper and set a public hearing for April 20th, 2026.
Motion and support, it's a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And lastly, 12G, set a public hearing for ordinance 2026-04, amendment to 134.03, disorderly house. I mean,
Okay.
We're kind of got into this.
That. Again, looking at the ordinance changes, we have another recommended ordinance amendment and change to disorderly house. Like I said, during that review of disorderly conduct, we determined that that section B could be removed. If you look at the ordinance, basically it's just paring it down to one section where no person shall permit or suffer any house, building, or other place owned or occupied by him or to be a resort of noisy, boisterous, or disorderly persons, nor permit or suffer to remain within any noisy, boisterous, or disorderly persons. So basically, we just cleaned up the language to be consistent with other disorderly house ordinances, and really to ensure that the ordinances were more cohesive and clear and more efficient for enforcement when we put both of those, kind of to streamline both of them.
Again, any questions, comments, or discussion on 12G?
I move that we introduce ordinance 2026-4, an amendment to 134.03 disorderly house, publish a summary in the local newspaper, and set a public hearing for April 20th, 2026.
Support.
I have a motion and support, and this is again a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you, Chief. We're gonna have quite a slew of public hearings. That brings us to item 14 on our agenda, public comment on non-agenda items. Persons addressing City Council are required to give their name and address for the record when called upon by the mayor. Members of the public shall be limited to speaking for a maximum of 2 minutes. Comments shall address non-agenda item topics. Public hearing items should have been addressed during the public hearing portion, item 10 of the meeting agenda. Agenda items should have been addressed during the public comment agenda items, item 6 portion of the meeting agenda. Is there anyone wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
I'll try to get this in 2 minutes. Ask them for agendas. First, oh, they want agendas. I don't blame them, it's hard. Okay. All right. Lynn Slight, 507 Fair Street. I want to talk about lack of transparency. This council met this evening at 6 p.m. downstairs, and you discussed a noise ordinance, which is really good that you're discussing the noise ordinance. But the meeting was not videotaped, so the public has no way of knowing that that discussion, well, they probably don't know what happened, but they really don't know the details of it. And I think that's really important for the public to be informed on what you guys are talking about. Lack of transparency is a problem because it causes, or it's often causes lack of trust. This next thing is, there's a meeting on Wednesday I saw. Let me read what I found out. A lot of people probably don't know about this meeting. Here goes. Wilder Creek updated March meeting, Wednesday, March 18, 6 p.m. at the clubhouse. Potluck, feel free to bring a passing dish. Program, potential data center update and discussion. Holy crap, that's what we've been asking for, like a town hall. And it's good that you're having this, but it just seems really secret. Speakers, our own Derek Perry, Marshall City Manager, Jackie Tucker, Stewart Lake Association President. And this is the part that really hurts. Attendance limited to Wilder Creek members and Stewart Lake Association board members. So why are we excluded? And will we get a town hall? Oh my goodness. Perhaps maybe at some point you guys can give us a little bit more time to talk.
Thank you, Lynn. Anyone
Yep.
else wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
Kelly Isaac again. I would like to see the, as I stated before, the meetings held at 6 recorded. Very interesting, by the way, information that comes out of those. Additionally, if we could have the clerk leave some copies of the agenda here. I don't have a printer, So I just would like the agenda so I could follow along in the meetings. We used to get those. I'm glad that the park's gonna be updated. I was part of the team that raised money. We sold tiles about 20-some years ago to update the park. And it was a true community affair because it was volunteers. We didn't have many people drawing fancy pictures, and my job was to pick up nails. But anyway, things have sure changed in that period of time in Marshall. I'm glad that the park can be used for parties, specifically birthday parties now. And I would just suggest making that pavilion just a little bit bigger. I know I've had birthday parties with 40 or 50 people there. Our parks are very important. I really liked what the volunteers did with the fire and that area. I've been to several different graduation events there. It's beautiful. And anytime we can update our parks, I appreciate it. I hope that the kids leave the skate park alone and respect the property down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council on non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
Good evening, David Begg, 504 West Green Street. I've thanked you before. I'll thank you again for all you do. And listen, coming to these meetings, there's a lot going on in Marshall. You carry a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. There's a lot of research you have to do. The meeting we had at 6 o'clock was very informative, and I was glad to hear that information. And even as you all discussed that, it was clear that you are individually looking into some of this stuff, and that was really good to see. I appreciate that. And you aren't the only ones in Marshall doing a lot of work. We have some people that serve in volunteer capacities. And I think I want to take this moment to thank them too. They are in non-paid positions and they carry some serious responsibility. And it's easy to find out how much city employees make because it's a matter of public record and you can just look it up. Anybody can do that. It's not complicated. And as far as city council members, you paid $300 a year. It's like not getting paid. It's a little stipend for gas. And I hope at some point as a community, we can look at that and maybe balance that a little bit with the responsibility that you cared. Reasonable, we heard the police chief talking about reasonable earlier this evening when we talked about noise ordinances. And sometimes we gotta think about what's reasonable. Is $300 a year reasonable? And thank you to the chief and all of you for all the work that you're doing on this noise ordinance. I think that's very important. I appreciate hearing about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
Mary Wayne Adams again, 622 West Green Street. First off, there is a concern about the modification of these threat ordinances. And it seems that there is an effort to try to bring in what may be transpiring over social media. And if you've been onto the various social media platforms, Facebook, dealing with local issues, at times the conversation can get pretty heated. But how does the federal court feel about that kind of stuff? Lynn versus United Plant Guard Workers of America, Local 114, 383 United States Reports at 53 says, talking about political debate, debate should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open, and may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks. So we have a First Amendment right to essentially chew you guys out when we don't like what you're doing. And there's a problem there when you can come back and say, oh, I felt threatened, and it turns into some criminal activity. First Amendment protects this stuff. There is in the constitutional republic, a crucial principle is separation of powers. The judiciary can't do what the executive or the legislature does. The legislature can't do what the executive and the judiciary does, and the executive can't do what the judiciary and the legislature does. Now, you saw that violated tonight. The executive, that is the police, have no business trying to alter or update legislation. Article 1 and Article 3, or Article 1, Section 3 and Article 1, Section 1 of the Michigan Constitution specifically say that it's the people's input that you base your legislation on.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Not the executive branch.
Anyone else wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items? Yes, sir.
Brian Munger, 200 East Spruce Street, Marshall, Michigan. I gave a pass out last week, and I thought I'd mention a couple things about it. It says here about Stewart Lake being will be first to notice some of the problems there. There will be unwanted noise pollution in the form of frequencies, and there will be 24/7. Studies have shown that constant hum on servers, network switches, routers, and air conditioning systems, and industrial cooling fans cause significant harm to both humans and wildlife residing near the data center. There will be light issues, once again, 24/7. The development is proposed to build here in Marshall. It's less than 2 miles from both the Marshall Academy and Hughes Elementary School. And it will be directly connected to the Brooks Nature area and be dangerously close to more than 80 homes on Stewart Lake. And do we want this facility within 2 miles of our schools where we have possible pollution and contamination? The water there is going to be anywhere from 1 to 10 million gallons a day. Now, all this I've mentioned is horrible. Everything I've talked about is horrible. High energy use and the strain of the grid and, could possibly raise the rates for consumers. We're spending an awful lot of money to bring something here that's probably only going to provide 30, 40 full-time jobs and soon to be replaced by robots. That's horrible. I'm sorry that I know I'm limited to time, but I think that it's for you to even consider this project is horrendous.
Thank you, Mr. Munger. Anyone else wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items?
Laura Valentine, 509 North Drive East. My dad, Wayne Booten, and Brian did a lot of door knocking. So I just want to say, why is there no May election? That's what I went away with. My big takeaway last time I was here was, why is there no May election all of a sudden? Can that be even possible? The other part is, I know there is a bill for a moratorium in Lansing going up for all data centers with the exception of the 3 in Van Buren, Saline, and Lyon Townships. For those data centers to be put on hold for 1 year because of these water problems. And I'm gonna ask you, because of the schools, and I'm a teacher, would you put imagine for a minute pouring that dirty water in a glass and giving it to your grandfather or your father who's 90 years old and telling him he has to take his meds. Would you put your grandchild in a bathtub that's that dirty? Would you ask your surgeon to scrub up in that water? You have our elective vote for this time, but your decision is responsible for what you historically decide for Marshall. Imagine 2030. Nobody can sell their house because nobody wants this water table. The schools are empty. The factories are empty because nobody can live on this water table because of this decision that you guys have slid under the table through Marshall's Downtown Development Authority.
Thank you.
It's appalling.
Thank you.
I'm embarrassed to know you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council this evening on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move to council and manager communications. And Member Gates.
Thank you.
Member Hackworth.
Quick letter. This is in response to an email I received. I'm not going to give the person's name, but I will read my response. I understand the concerns and frustrations surrounding the proposed development near Stewart Lake, and I wanted to share a clear update on where things currently stand. The industrial area in question was established approximately 60 years ago and has long been zoned for industrial and commercial use. In fact, the zoning specifically allows for industrial activity and even power generation. Because of that long-standing zoning designation, development proposals that fit within those parameters are legally permitted uses of the property. A few years ago, a housing development was explored for the lakefront, but ultimately did not move forward. Around 20 years ago, Stewart Lake residents helped establish the Brooks Nature Preserve as a buffer between the lake and the land that had already been zoned for industrial purposes. Most recently, the Local Development Finance Authority, LDFA, entered into a purchase agreement with a company and agreed to terms surrounding a potential sale of the property. The property itself has not been sold yet. As part of that agreement, the company is currently in a 180-day due diligence period to evaluate the site and determine whether they will proceed with the project. During this phase, City Council does not have authority to intervene in the process because the property is already properly zoned for industrial use. Attempting to impose a moratorium at this stage would likely expose the city to significant legal challenges. One of the key remaining steps involves the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, which is currently reviewing wetland considerations. Their determination will play an important role in what happens next. If the state denies the necessary approvals, the land would revert back to the LDFA. Like many residents, I am watching the situation closely. At this point, however, we are waiting on the state's decision regarding the wetlands before any further steps can occur. Please feel free to reach out if you have additional questions. Also, I'd like to add thank you to Officer Lankard, to staff for taking the time to redo these ordinances and update them. Constitution is a living agreement. It is a living document, which means that we are constantly changing things because it shifts down. And so I want to appreciate and respect him for doing that. And all of the volunteers, as Mr. Begg said, who spend their time helping with these things, I want to respect them and honor them as well. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you. Member Traver.
Nothing, thank you.
Member Underhill.
Another night. Thank you.
Member Cheney, how are you?
I can't improve on James, thank you.
City Manager Perry.
I just want to thank everyone for the input tonight at the work session. Again, as we're developing this noise ordinance, appreciate all the input and thoughts. As you know, we want to have the best document we can, and your input's critical for that, so thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Eubank.
I'll just note that there's no May election because there was nothing for the ballot. There's only 3 communities within the entire county that will be having an election in May. We will have our primary in August for the governor and our representative, senator, et cetera, and then the November general election.
Thank you so much. I'll address the fact that we don't record work sessions. Work sessions are an informal venue for us to interact with city staff and get answers. Sometimes professionals are brought in to give us a better explanation on things that are not before us yet, but they will be. It gives us an opportunity to provide feedback so that the whatever legislation or resolution or ordinance, whatever comes to us ultimately reflects our input and reflects, the community. I say it's not recorded because because there's that give and take of information, and what ultimately comes before us is not necessarily represented in what's put before us in that work session. I feel like that would be used as you said this and that now this isn't that, and I feel like it's a better format for council to get better input and answers and give better input and answers between city staff and council. I will also address the data center questions because I know that there are comments being made that city council wants this or city council doesn't want this. Nothing has come to city council there, and it would be inappropriate for any of us to say how we would vote on something before it gets presented to us. So once something is actually in a form where we have to consider it is when we will decide as a body whether or not we support it or don't support it. There are lots of inputs and conversations that will happen before then, but until then, there has been no movement by this body to support or deny any development of that nature. So with that, I will thank everyone for their time, their effort, their energy. I appreciate that you keep coming back, and I would seek a motion for adjournment.
We don't support a data center.
This is not a conversation. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.